toe of shame. So here it is, 1998 Four Trax 4x4 Honda, seized. This thing was found at a farm in Orange County, New York, and it moved to Dutchess County, New York, and then now I have it. So the person, I call it the lucky move, and by lucky move, you buy something and you find it's an easy fix. So the person I got it from paid $500 for it, and he indicated that he got it unseized, but he didn't get it running. I'm wondering if he got it unseized enough so it wasn't seized and he had to come back to it, or if it was just barely turning, or what the story is. So in my opinion, the lucky shot is already been had. Another issue, this is the flywheel side. And normally you take this cover right off and you got a bolt on the flywheel, and that's how you turn it around. Obviously with this four-wheel drive with the power takeoff for the front there, that's not going to happen easily. He indicated he took the clutch side off, and I don't know if you guys, yeah, you guys could see the Blue Death on there. So got some nice toilet bowl sealer holding that on. He never finished putting it back together, right? He gave me the foot peg and some of the hardware from this side. So anyway, I'm going to get this side off again, and we're going to figure out, yeah, he never finished putting this back together. So anyway, I'm going to get it off. We'll figure out if it's still seized, or if there's an issue with the kickstarter, or if the starter gears are ground up. Hopefully, a lot of times with seized motors, people get all froggy with the starter, right? Trying to make it turn things over, and they blow up the starter motor and strip out the gears. That would get very expensive very quickly. I'm really kind of out on the limb. I got $450 invested on this. If this motor is junk, right, I'll pull the rear end for the other one. But for getting it running as a complete unit becomes doubtful. Right? So let's see what we're going to do. Depends if we could get it unseized. Okay, we have it jacked up in such a way that you don't want to get any of your body under there for when it falls off, and it's time to take it apart. Once again, I just wanted to fish out the parts that came with it, right? This cover goes over that stuff, right? Got the nuts and bolts, obviously the foot peg, you guys know where that go. These wires, this is a double, it just plugs in here, you just tug it, and this guy plugs down there, right, top, bottom, and you just tug those off, so that's easy enough. To get this kickstarter off, you spin out the bolt, right, oh, came off easy, good show, right. And then after that, you just go around, make sure you have everything nice and loose, right? I'm going to try to take it off and leave the bolts right in the cover. If not, it's not a bad idea to get a piece of cardboard. If you're smart, you buy a gasket in advance, you just trace the gasket out and poke the bolts into the holes you take them out of. And there's a good reason to do that. That way the long ones go where the long ones go, and so forth. I haven't found a situation. This is an oil line. By the way, make note, copper gasket on the bottom, copper gasket on top. This is a banjo bolt. And by that, it's drilled through the center. And then typically, it's drilled across also, right? You see the holes in it? Oh, there's just one, and down the center. You kind of don't want to put any ordinary bolt in there, because if you do, oh, that's not coming off, right? Because if you do, Obviously you're not oiling your top end, and it won't take you too long before you hear squeaking and then death. Kind of death rattle is how the whole thing finishes off. So at this point, I mean, he glued it on there with that gasket. It might take a little tappy to get it loose, but it's ready to come off. So the mosquitoes out here are eating me alive, and now we're in. So a few things that concern me, like what the heck was going on here, right? I mean, the bearing in here looks okay. Let's see if I can hang on to this and show you. Yeah, I mean, that all looks good. So why is that being torn up? So that's one thing. The second thing is, see that bolt that spun out? Well, it's kind of grinding into this. Hear it? So we got that going on. The other thing is, the center here hooks up to the crank. This is the external that goes out to the transmission. This is the centrifugal clutch. Oh, beautiful. But I'm able to turn the crank. I mean, we'll spin it fast and do a compression test on it in a minute. But so I'm not completely understanding some of what I'm seeing. I think, don't know, but I think he put it together and somehow something isn't quite right in here, and what he interpreted when trying to kick it over, that the kickstarter was seized, or that the engine was seized. It turns out that I think it has a kickstarter problem. Once again, think, don't know. I'm gonna have to do a little research. This stuff is always kind of hard if you're not the first person in. If you're the second person in, you know, you have to ask the question, did the cat do dookie in my motor while I was away, right? So, where if you're the first person in, you can make sure the cat didn't get to the motor. So, little things to pay attention to. That guy there. There's one down here. See it at the tip of my finger. And there's one here. So I think all those things are happy and where they should be. I'm still concerned about what the heck is going on here. Right? I don't like the looks of that. You guys could see it. Why is it doing that? I mean, this should be resting on a bearing, right? It shouldn't be getting torn up like that. I'm not seeing any oil floating around down here in the sump, but once again, somebody was in here already. Generally speaking, the clutch looks pretty healthy. Even that looks fairly healthy. Once again, I'm not finding a lot of material. Internally, this motor looks okay. I got to figure out how to turn it over right without breaking anything. And then I'm going to have to do a little research. So let's see if this turns around. The socket is 1 1/8, or I think it would be 27 millimeters. I don't seem to have anything quite that big. So here we are, 3/4 drive, 1 1/8, and I've gone around a couple of times. It doesn't seem to be seized at all. If anything, it seems like it might be a little light on the old compression. Right, that's the valve springs, kind of making it move a little bit. Yeah, this is ungainy, but you can see it turns really pretty easy. So that's mystery 1 solved. So I smashed the kickstarter back on a little bit, and seems to be binding. So I think it's got a kickstarter problem, not a hey, my engine is seized problem. So I'm gonna have to figure out exactly what's going on with the Kickstarter. And it looks like somebody fooled around with some of that stuff, right? When you got that gear there, maybe that is just, you know, I'm able to turn this though it's hard. Maybe it's just that bolt is binding. Am I that lucky? Right? You guys could see the bolt up against it. My problem is I can't get it in or out because of this thing. It's almost like they put a bolt in that was too long when they were in here and this clutch was out. Anyway, I'll mess with it. Worst comes to worst, we'll have to cut it off or something. I don't know what that bracket does for a living, but it's out. This was cracked and it was just kind of being held in place. So it's out of there. I assume it's something to do with the Kickstarter. I just don't know that. But the way it was installed, it was rubbing against here, and I think it was the cause of the no turn. So I slid the Kickstarter back in, and you gotta kind of grab the spring around that. So once that is right, I could turn it around. But I wonder if when the engine's spinning, it doesn't force this upward and somehow this, I don't know, but it seems to work, right? And seems to have something like compression. I think we're to the point where I can tickle the electric starter and see what it's going to do, put a battery to it, see what they got going on with this. Well, they got nothing going on with this on and off switch. It seems like I guess they got the power hot wired, right? The red and black go together and you separate these two, which gives you spark. So I guess I could put a battery to it and see if it goes round. I don't know. Maybe Harvey's luck is holding out. A little sleazy. But we got the jump pack on and we hopped right on the battery or right on the starter terminal and we get nothing. So I did tap the starter and I got kind of a little death rattle. So the electric starter on this thing is cooked. So this is just hooked right to the power block, right? You can see this light came on for a second. I can't seem to get a neutral light and I can't seem to get a reverse light, which makes sense. I think the reverse is disconnected on the side of the motor. This switch is not hooked up at all. The wires are snapped off of it, right? We talked about that a second ago. So let's see, where are we with this rig? The engine is not seized, right? Huge pluses there. And I think it might even have enough compression to start. The electric starter is out to lunch, and from the rattle I heard the starter gears might be out to lunch. Obviously I need a gasket on this side, oil filter, it'll get an oil change. I don't know what to do about that broken bracket. I'm gonna have to look at some exploded diagrams to kind of figure out what it did for a living. Honda doesn't put stuff in for no reason, right? Neither does Toyota or or Nissan or you know, or Ford or anybody else. If that bracket was in there, it was in there for a reason. So I need to kind of figure that out. Sheet metal screw exhaust system, you gotta love it. So I guess my can or bottle or glass or cup or whatever is half full, right? It's not dead because it's seized, but it's not quite alive either. And I must say, I'm very nervous about what was done in here before I got here, or perhaps even the other guy got in here. I'm really kind of scratching my head a little bit. I don't understand. Once again, I don't understand that bracket. I don't understand why it was loose. He got the engine turning, but I'm thinking the engine was probably never seized. I'm thinking the thing had a kickstarter problem all along. And the starter burned out. The electric starter burned out. It had a kickstarter problem. So it was presenting as the engine seized, but it really is not. My problem with doing a kick start test is if I lie it down, if there's any oil in there, it's going to run all over the ground, and I'd rather not have that happen. So I can't do that. And once again, the electric starter's done. I don't want to steal the electric starter from the other one, because the other one has a good motor in it, and I just as soon keep that intact, right? I'm not big with borrowing parts from one to the other. All right. Well, not seized, good. Not running, not good. This is going to be a part 2. We're already up to about 15-18 minutes of video, and that's enough for this. I want to thank all you guys for dropping by to watch and comment and subscribe. I need you to keep your feet down, your heads up. I'm really happy that I was able to go in on this side and figure out what the engine was up to. So that was cool. I hope you guys got something from that also. Please remember, once again, feet down, heads up, get out and enjoy each and every day. Wish me luck tomorrow at the auction. Let's see what we come home with.